guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 218. And this show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go worst pick of the week, we go best pick of the week, and everything in between. So let's get started. Number 15, I had kind of a light week. It is the 5th Wednesday of the month, so obviously you usually get a little bit of a lighter week. But number 15 for me is The Beauty, issue 17. Now this is a new story arc for The Beauty, and sadly it once again goes in another direction. I remember I kind of lost interest in The Beauty and almost dropped it when they switched off to these characters we didn't know, and it just felt like it didn't connect to the overall story enough, and it kind of goes back to that here. Hopefully in the end we'll see them all come together, but I am invested in The Beauty because of the detective characters, and you don't really get to see them here, obviously, because it's a new arc and they're just focusing on another character that I just wasn't as interested in with this issue. And also I felt like the artwork was very heavily inked, wasn't really a style that I really enjoyed. It covered the nice pencils that the artist did have. So overall I'm going to give The Beauty issue 17 2 stars, and that's number 15. Now moving on to number 14, which is Injustice 2, issue 1. I was sad to see this because I was looking forward to the Wonder Woman Origins, but most of the issue is a copy and paste of the Wonder Woman movie until you get the twist of Steve Trevor in the issue, but it takes so long to get there and there's not enough pages of the twist that, again, it just feels like a copy and paste of the Wonder Woman movie. And then the Harley Horde backstory definitely did not have enough pages to warrant its story. I wanted a bit more from it. So overall, I gave Injustice 2 issue 1 2.5 stars, and that was number 14. Now moving on to number 13, people might believe this is a bit low, but this is personal preference, and that is Batman Creature of the Night issue 1. So I've read Secret Identity before. It's not one of my favorite books, but I enjoyed it, but I'm not a hardcore fan of Secret Identities, so going into this, I feel like you should be. If you like Secret Identity, you'll like this storyline. If you don't, or if you never read it, I don't know if you'll enjoy this one as much. So I did like the beginning of, obviously, this Bruce being very similar to our Bruce Wayne, and Batman actually existing within this world as a comic book character. I thought was interesting, but then the story kind of got boring for me within the middle and the ending, where it didn't give me enough where I wanted to pick up the next issue, especially for the heavy price tag it is and with the amount of pages it has. So Batman Creature of the Night issue 1 gets 3 stars, but I definitely do get the enjoyment of the book and why people would enjoy it, but again, personal preference. Now moving on to number 12, which is a Mystic You, issue 1, which I believe, really had a good start here. I like the beginning of, alright, here's this chaos, how did this happen? Love the opening scene of Zatanna and Zatara. Zatanna discovering her powers was really good. But once you get to the school, that's where it slows down for me. I feel like they introduce so many characters, it's hard to latch on to any of them besides Zatanna. You have some interesting cameos, or I guess cameos, or guest appearances of magical people you would know from the DC Universe, and if you're a hardcore magic person from the DC Universe, I think you'll have more enjoyment of this, but for me, I just like the Zatanna parts. Everything else I felt like could have been fleshed out more, or maybe we just shouldn't have so many characters. It just felt a little bit bloated to me. So Mystic You issue 1 gets 3.5 stars. Not a bad book. Definitely want to pick up the next issue, but was expecting a little bit more from it. Now moving on to number 11, which is X-Men Blue issue 16. And I felt like this was a better issue than what we've been getting. Definitely some stronger artwork here. I did like it. I feel like it was less puffy than what we've been getting. Colors were pretty good for the book too. And the beginning, I will say, I felt was a little bit too scattered. They were focusing on way too many characters and not really saying much in that story. But then once we get to the time travel aspect of the storyline, I really got into it. And I'm glad that they're trying to finally get into this. They've been kind of ignoring the time travel aspect of these characters since the beginning. So it's nice that they're digging deeper into it. And we'll see what the outcome ends up being. So X-Men Blue issue 16 gets 3.5 stars. Now moving on to number 10, which is Black Magick. So, what issue was it? I believe it was issue 9. Yes, Black Magick issue 9. So, with this issue, it's a bit of a slow burn. It's definitely more about putting the pieces together before, I guess, the childbirth. Because the childbirth of Morgan's, which is Rowan's partner's child, seems like it's going to be important, so I'm excited for that, and I think they're just building up to it. But really what makes this issue shine is Rowan and Morgan's parts in the issue, where we get to see them as characters separately, and we get to see Morgan's wife support him, and then Alexandra support Rowan. I like those moments. They're small moments, but I enjoyed them. So yes, it's more of a build-up issue. I think it's a better read probably in trade, at least with this issue, but still looking forward to seeing where it goes. So I gave that 3.5 stars. Now moving on to number 9, which is Motor Crush issue 8. And this was also kind of a slow start in the beginning as Domino is just trying to figure out her life, but really picks up once we get to see Domino's ex-girlfriend and this guy named Cal try to find Crush for Domino. I thought that was really cool, and it brings up the intensity of the series a little bit more. So overall, I gave Motor Crush issue 8 3.5 stars. Now moving on to number 8, which is a book I just had a lot of fun with, which was Hack and Slash Resurrection issue 2. And I really like this issue. I like that Cassie is finding a love interest in this girl. I think they really had a nice dynamic in this issue, and they set that up really well. But also just figuring out why Cassie is there. You know, why did they want her as a camp counselor and her adjusting to it? Like, she ends up beating up one of the other camp counselors by accident. So it has the perfect amount of snark that the first issue had. And I'm just having a fun time with it. I do think the artwork could improve a bit. There's times where facial expressions could be a bit better. It feels a bit slanted and kind of weird looking and awkward. But other than that, I mean, the artwork it's solid besides the facial expressions. And maybe some of the proportions, but I do like the art style overall, and yeah, I thought it was a solid issue. I've been having fun with this one, so I'm giving this 4 stars. Now moving on to number 7, which is Bettie Page issue 5, which is definitely the best issue we've probably gotten of Bettie Page. It really has a nice balance of espionage, action, and wit of Bettie Page, which is really why I got into this book, was that snark and that really catchy dialogue with this book, and that continues throughout, where you get to see Betty as a badass pretty much, and then her getting into being a secret agent, and it's just a lot of fun. So if you like spy storylines and if you like Bettie Page, definitely go check this out. So Bettie Page issue 5 gets a solid 4 stars. Moving on to number 6, which is Long Lost issue 1, and I'm really glad I got a copy of this issue because I kind of randomly got it because I looked on Comic Book Roundup, which is kind of like the Rotten Tomatoes of comics, where they have all the critics come together and you get a grade, and I saw this book and I really loved the cover, and I was like, oh, let's see what this is about, and it is about teens and horror, and I'm like, this is totally for me. So I did get a chance to grab the book, and then next week my store should have a printed copy, so I should be getting a printed copy also, and I had a lot of fun with this. Now the opening is kind of weird. It's kind of these visions. You see these two young girls holding hands, and you're like, what's going on? And then it opens up with, I guess, a girl in her 20s. The artwork is a bit cartoony in a way, so you can't really tell how old they are, but from the dialogue it seems like, you know, mid-20s she's in, and she has this dog. She's just trying to make her dog go to the bathroom and trying to find all the ways to do so. So it's just a really fun kind of slice of life at first. And then you see she's ignoring these calls, and it's probably the girl from, you know, her past. And the girl, we get a scene from her where she's just talking and talking and talking about how she doesn't want kids, but she wants to have a dog back, and it's so fun, the dialogue, and again, kind of slice of life aspect. And then we get to see the horror aspect get into the issue where these creatures go into our main character's house and she's like, what's going on? But from the art, you also feel like she kind of knows what's going on. And then she comes face to face with her friend by the end, the friend she's been ignoring, who has her discussion about wanting to be an alpha of a dog pack. This is a lot of fun. I really like the issue, and I think the artwork was really different. It's this grayscale, again, kind of cartoony looking book, but then when the horror aspect comes into it, it really seeps through very nicely. So I had a fun time with this one, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and definitely recommend it. So moving on to number 5, which is Kill or Be Killed, issue 14, which really brings the action and brings all the elements you like about Kill or Be Killed. The unreliable narrator aspect of it, really like where it's like, well, this hasn't happened yet, but this happened. I really like Dylan's voice. That's definitely the best part of this series. And then by the end, you're kind of unraveling the mystery a bit of why he's seeing this demon and why he just continues to be a vigilante. So I liked it, especially for Dylan's voice. So Kill or Be Killed issue 14 gets 4 stars, and that is number 5. Now we're moving on to number 4, which is Jean Grey, issue 9. I really like this issue. The artwork was a little blotchy at times, but really worked well with the Phoenix stuff. But the story was a lot of fun and really gives reason to why Dennis Hopeless had been focusing so much on Jean's fear of the Phoenix, because finally it is here. And that's the line Hope says in the end. It's like, it's not coming, it's here. And I really enjoy Emma and Ghost Adult Jean Grey's back and forth and how they are different but similar in this issue. And you never would expect to say that about Emma, but Emma really shines a lot in this book, and them trying to help young Jean as she's fighting the Phoenix and burning up. And then you get to see other important players come in. You get to see the Cuckoos, Hope, which is one of my favorite characters, so I definitely love seeing Hope. At least one of my favorite X-Men characters. And then they're all coming together. Quentin Quire's there too, and the Phoenix is here. So really nice build up to the Phoenix resurrection storyline, and just bringing back this, you know, huge entity of the Marvel Universe. So Jean Grey, issue 9, especially for the character moments, gets 4.5 stars. Now, moving on to number 3, which is Batman Annual Issue 2. Really enjoyed this one, because at first I thought it was just going to be kind of this cliche romance story of Catwoman and Batman, and it kind of starts out that way, even though the script is so well done. But then in the end, you get to see the future of Batman and Catwoman, where they're settled down, and I love the scene where you find out that Batman/Bruce is dying, and the way Catwoman reacts to it, but the way they don't actually reveal it, but you know what's happening. And then you also get to see the Batfamily react to his death. It's just such a powerful, emotional, surprising issue here. And the artwork is tremendous. I love the emotions and kind of the moodiness that's brought into this book. So overall, I'm going to give Batman Annual Issue 2 4.5 stars, and that is number 3. Now, moving on to number 2, I'm so upset this book is over. I love this book, and it is Heavy Metal Issue 4. My store didn't have this issue, so hopefully next week I'll get it. But I really liked how this book ended. It's how, you know, how it kind of starts in this issue, where we get to see the view of the life of all our High Five Fight Club members here, and how they kind of are, you know, how they are separately, which was interesting, and I really like that. And that's something I've been enjoying so much about Heavy Vinyl, was the aspect of the character building and how you felt like, yes, Chris is the main character, but you knew all the other characters of the team well also. And, you know, I'm glad that the Chris and Maggie thing ended nicely. I would have loved to see more of their relationship, but it does end on a nice note. I did feel, the reason why it wasn't number 1 is I did feel like the Rebel, I believe her name was Rebel Riot, you know, the singer, her storyline was a little rushed, but I like the ending where she's also part of a fight club, and then by the end of the issue, we see our team has to join a band, because that's all Chris ever wanted. Is like, they definitely have a secret band, right? And now they're going to be part of it, not a secret band, but an actual band to kind of get into the mystery more. I kind of love just the Scooby-Doo-ness of this book, and it's just so much fun. You know, the saddest part is that it's ending and you don't know if you're getting more, but it definitely is a mini-series you should get. It's such a good book and one of my favorite books from this year. Now moving on, and I gave that 4.5 stars. Now moving on to number 1, which is Spider-Gwen issue 26. Man, this book keeps blowing me away. I mean, I already love Spider-Gwen, but Gwenum has hit you in the feels, where you get to see this darkness of Gwen and the way Latour and Rodriguez portray the darkness. You really feel it. You feel the emotions in this book and what Gwen is going through the coloring of Rico Renze also. I love how he puts the pink and the black in pretty much all the panels, even when Gwen is not, you know, Venom. And we get to see that in that park scene really well. But what I also liked about this issue is how Latour brings in the supporting characters in showing the world of Earth 65. And that everyone kind of already knows that Gwen is Spider-Woman and they just want to help her. But at this moment, they are separated. Their storylines, Gwen doesn't know that people want to help her out and she feels really alone. So really well done issue. I love the Cindy Moon and Gwen stuff in this issue too, where you feel like, yeah, they're gonna fight, but it's really this interesting conversation of Cindy saying, get out of Matt Murdock's thumb. Don't be fearful of him if you can. So it was a really interesting conversation. And then it ends on Captain America wanting to find Gwen. So again, goes back to how this feels like a real world. You know, the world building is tremendous for Spider-Gwen. So Spider-Gwen issue 26 for me gets 4.5 stars, and that was my pick of the week. But let me know in the comments below, what was your pick of the week? What was your worst pick of the week? And everything in between. So this is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.